Morning guys, Jamie here. Excuse the mess and the state of me. I look a bit feral, but I'm literally just trying to get everything tidied up, ready for going to England next week. But I just found some of my tubers which have been on the bench are ready for taking some cuttings off. So I thought I'd do a really quick video with you on how I do cuttings at this time of the year. So the tuber we've got who's working up here is White Supreme, which is a water lily dahlia. It's gone a bit out of focus, but it's a very large water lily dahlia, so it'll be really good for florists and for wedding bunches. So at the bottom of this little cutting here, you'll see there's a couple of nodes. If I don't know if I can try and point to more, so we've got one here, there's one in there, and there's one here. So what I'm going to do is take my cut with a sharp scalpel just about below this node here. I don't want to take any of the tuber because there's videos around which tell you what you can do. But if you take part of the tuber, what effectively you're doing is you're killing that eye from the tuber, so there's nothing you can replace it with. Now, if you go just on that node where I showed you, there'll be a little bit of dieback in the bit of tissue that we left, but where that eye was, the tuber will form new eyes. So you might get 4, you might get 6, you could even get 8 new tubers, new eyes popping up, which obviously is a new source of material to take. So I'll take that cutting off, and as I said, do it with a sharp scalpel because you don't want to crush any of this cell tissue when we're doing this. So as you can see, I've got it off just on that node, and if you can see in there, I've just let the slightest bit of tuber left, so that will shoot the new eyes up from around it again. Alright, so we're going to prep it. So I've got my scalpel, it's been sanitized, and I'm just going to skim off these 2 little petals at the bottom. We're going to cut off, and we're going to create what we call like the little heel, like that. And in there you'll have the 2 little shoots which will form next year's eyes on your tuber. Now you can take these off as well because they're quite close together, so what will happen is that you've got 2 red nodes where roots can form and create a healthier plant for you. Now you may have wanted to leave it a couple of days longer for these leaves to open, but if you're in a nice humid environment like we are, we can do it now. So I use Clone X rooting hormone. It's about $45 a bottle, but it lasts you forever. And then we dip in. Try not to dip your stem straight into the bottle because obviously if there's any bacteria or anything we haven't killed by any chance, then that's going to go in that bottle and potentially tarnish it. Then depending on what your rooting medium is, I use these little plugs which I get made sustainable peat, and they're made by my wholesaler, and then your little cutting sits in like hala. Now, because I do so many cuttings, this is the easiest way I've found of keeping track. So basically, one spreadsheet for plug trays, we have all the trays listed down the bottom, and then we have however many cells to a tray. So as you can see, I've just done homicide, now we're up to White Supreme. And this is backed up so I can access it inside, outside, on my phone, all through Google Drive. Not bad for a morning's efforts. Now, as most of you know, the process from here on for us is automated in that they get sprayed every half an hour or so for about 4 or 5 seconds, just to keep a misting on there to stop them transpiring water, which obviously then causes them to dampen off or just curl up and die. But if you're at home, just make a little simple greenhouse. You could use a solo cup, like if you get KFC, you get those cups and the rest of it, and with the little lids you can recycle them, your coffee cups. Just make sure there's a bit of an air hole in there, and we're just going to mist that 3 or 4 times a day for the first 4 days until you won't be able to see it, it's under the ground, but it'll form what's called a callus on the node, and that kind of seals some of that moisture in, and by that point they start forming roots, and it'll take anywhere up to 10 to 14 days after that. But you want them not wet but just moist, a bit like a sponge when you've wet it and soaked it. So whatever medium you're using, dahlias do root really well in no matter what type of medium you use, but you don't want wet, and I think that's one of the issues where we overlove them and create that issue. And also now spring weather, you probably don't need to have them in the greenhouse too much, where especially at the minute we're like 30 degrees today here, but you want that 20-25 degree ambient temperature. So even inside on the windowsill, just make sure obviously now with this hot weather that they're not getting burnt, but they should go fine for you. And hopefully, things going well, you will have some little roots come through in a couple of weeks. I've already replanted most of mine, so I haven't got a big one to show you, but you may sometimes get dieback, and even if it dies back, usually on that side shoot you'll have the growth coming up, as you can see in there is a new little baby plant. Once the roots are showing outside of whatever medium you've got, it's time to put them on, and we'll do a video when I pot them up for you another time. All right, anyway, take care, all the best. Jamie out.